Welcome to the Roy Works channel. My name is Jason Roy, and in today's video, we're going to work on trying to put Ned's front hub back together. In the last video, we actually were able to get the brake assembly put back together, and I ordered from Kaiser Willys a new hub wrench or hub nut wrench to be able to properly torque the nuts on that front hub, because the way that they were torqued before was with a hammer and a chisel, and I don't think you can quite get it as accurate as it should be that way. First off, I'd like to get the old brake drum off of the old hub. In the comments, I actually got good advice to not try to force the lug bolts out of the hub by force. I actually got a press from Harbor Freight to help me be able to remove those instead of just trying to bang them out with a hammer. And the good piece of advice that they gave me is that those are swedged into the hub. And what that means is the lug bolt goes through the hub, and they actually press the top of the lug bolt so it mushrooms out at the top, and so they're not easily removed. So they do make a cutter to be able to cut around that lug bolt to, so you're able to free it up. But I think I'm only going to have to use that like 1 or 2 times. I'm not a professional Jeep mechanic, so I have to be careful how many specific tools I get. So what I've tried on the rear brake hub, which I actually already removed, I just used a regular hole saw and just cut around the top of it, and it was able to pop out relatively easy. So this is the press I got from Harbor Freight. I'm not a huge fan of Harbor Freight tools, but I gotta say, some of the tools aren't too bad for what you're gonna use them for. If it's something that you don't use every day and is very critical to be high quality, I think some of this stuff works just fine. This has actually worked out really well for what I've used it for. And I'll just show you how I go about getting those bolts out. So it's pretty good. It's really easy to use. All you have to do is tighten up this here using the wrench they give you, which actually doubles as the leverage bar to do the pumping. You just use the end of it, just tighten this up here, and then it's ready to go. And then when you're done with it, and you want it to come back up, the springs actually pull it back up. So when you loosen the pin right here, or loosen the screw, it automatically lifts it back up. I gotta say, for a relatively cheap tool, it's really handy. This was with all the coupons, membership, the whole thing with Harbor Freight. It started out at I think about $100, And then with all that stuff, it ends up being like $60. So I think that's well worth it. It definitely saved me a lot of time and a lot of aggravation. So I'd recommend it to anybody. It definitely adds to your arsenal of tools. Even if you only use it once in a while, it's worth it. So now that I actually have the old hub onto the new drum. Now I'm going to start going through the process of packing the grease in both the hub and the bearings. So this is the grease that I'm using. It's a Amalie high temperature grease, specifically made for bearings. I'm going to use that for the inside of the hub, and I'm going to use a grease gun with my bearing packer to pack that with grease, because it has a grease fitting at the top. We'll go through that process. So what I'm going to do on the inside of this hub, there's a groove on the inside here. I'm going to grease that, and also this surface here, and also this surface here. I want to make sure this groove in here is totally full of grease. It's funny, when I was getting this grease, the guy behind the counter says, "Are you sure you want that much grease?" And it seems like I'm always using grease on something. I have a tractor and other vehicles, and I feel like you can't grease things too much. It just reduces the friction so much and makes things last so much longer. It's good to have a lot on hand. You want to try to avoid getting it on the hub. All right, so that's done. So ultimately, with bearings like this, you want to get grease all inside the wheels, all inside here, and the best way to do that, you don't want to just rub it on the top and say call it a day. You want to get it all into the internal mechanisms of it. So you could just take a big lump of grease and just keep working it in, working it into the all the different. I've done it that way, but what I'm going to do in this case is try this new tool, this basic tool that I got, which supposedly forces the grease into all the nooks and crannies. Place that on there like that. What I'm going to do is actually give it a little head start, so I'm not using all the grease out of the okay. So how this works is grease fitting at the top, and there's a hole about right near the end of it where the grease actually comes out of. Okay, I'm going to bring you down so you can see it from that view. All right, so that worked pretty good. It actually is coming all out of the different grooves. All right, so now it's ready for the time to start putting everything back onto the Jeep. The first thing, well, when I learn how to do things like this, or when I do anything like this, I like to know the very specifically what goes first, and then work my way out from there. So I'm going to try to do this as slow as I can. Both to make sure I do it right, and then also as a reference for anybody that wants to know what goes first and how the process goes. So the first thing that goes on there is this seal. It goes with the rubber facing out, and it actually rides on this part here. So you want to make sure that this is free from any old grease or any old dirt that might ruin that seal. So you just want to make sure that's really clean. Sometimes when I'm doing projects like this, I actually like to tell myself, not only act like I'm teaching somebody, but if you actually say it or actually think it in your mind, you make sure that you do it correctly. So that looks pretty good. That's nice and clean. So that seal goes first, but it isn't put on there first. You actually install it on the back of the hub. So this surface here ends up going against here. So what you want to do is make sure that seal is the last thing you see right here. But what goes on the hub first, with the taper down, so this has like a taper to it, angle is face down inside the hub. Because you can kind of see this has the same taper on it also. Now the seal goes on, and that goes, we want to see that facing out, so that goes face down. And we want to tap that into place. And you want to make sure you tap it down enough where it's even with the back of the hub. All right, so now I'm going to put the hub on. I'm going to really try to make sure I have the brake hub and the brake pads nice and clean. So I don't want to touch that with grease at all. So I'm going to just put this on, slide this through. Just like that there. Then the next thing I'm going to put on is the next bearing. And I want this angle to be going in just like that. So the flat part, this surface is facing out. Okay, next I want to put this washer on, and you can notice that this has a little tab here, and there's actually a little keyway that receives that, so you just want to line that up. Now, typically with any of the processes I do with the Jeep, because I'm not really a professional, I usually just do it and just videotape it. But I've had a lot of people ask if I could get more specific and find out the way that things go together. So I'm just doing this for, it might be one person out there or it might be 20, I'm not sure. But I want to pass on any of the information that I've got. So the next thing that goes on is the nut. That goes against the washer. And this is the hub the spindle nut wrench I got from Kaiser Willys. I'm just using a regular ratchet just to tighten it up as much as I can before I torque it. So you're supposed to torque this to 50 foot-pounds. All right, so I got my handy spring piece of metal in here just to keep it from spinning. Okay, so right about there. All right, so that worked out pretty well. I was told if it has too much drag on it, if it seems like it has too much drag, that you can back it off one flat. So that means if the flat of the nut is here, that if you back it off to make it here to line up where the other flat of the nut was, that can be seem to be good. But I feel like it don't seem that bad. I think I'm gonna leave it where it is. I can hear the brake rubbing a little bit, which I have to adjust that, but I don't think I wanna loosen it up any from there. If anybody disagrees with that, if you could put it in the comments and we could talk about it. But I really think it seems pretty good. So the next thing is gonna be putting on the sheet metal washer, which is the locking washer. It also has a tab on it. So it has a little tab that you have to also line up with that keyway. Right, so that's put in. And now I'm gonna put it on the other nut. And you also bring that to 50 foot-pounds. All right, so my next step is I want to make sure that this nut don't spin off or backspin. So what I'm going to do is take this screwdriver and bend this metal. Sorry about that, a motorcycle just went by. I want to bend this metal back so it locks in that nut. This is really important to do. All right, good. So that's all set. All right, now I'm gonna put this back on, get this put back together.
Right, then the washer goes on, and this nut.
All right, so I put on the outer nut washer first and then this outer nut. The only issue I'm having is I haven't been able to find out what the torque for this nut is. I've looked in multiple forums and I haven't been able to find out what this torque is supposed to be. So I'm gonna snug it up for now, just so I can keep all these parts together. If anybody knows what that torque is, I'd really appreciate the info. That would definitely be helpful. I'm in the process now. I want to actually get a service manual for this. I should have got it before now, but I'm living and learning as I go along that there's little things that I definitely need to know. I've got them for all my other vehicles. I actually have a wall of all the vehicles I've had in the past and the service manuals that I have for them. But I just haven't got the CJ2A one or the early CJ. I have one up there that's from 1953 to 1979, but it just is totally different. All right, that was a good job done today. I'm really glad to get that put back together. I hate having the parts all scattered everywhere. I feel like I'm gonna lose something. So tomorrow I'm gonna continue on the other side to get that other side done. I'm not gonna video that because it's really not video worthy. You already saw this process and it's just the same thing on the other side. So after tomorrow, all the hubs will be done. That part of the brakes will be finished. And that's a huge job done. Then it's going to be brake lines and continue on the body work. And the timing has been great because it's starting to get nice out and I'm going to be able to open up all the doors and start getting into the welding again. But I just want to tell you that coming up, I might be doing my videos a little less frequent. Because I have a lot of yard work to do and it's stuff that I've been neglecting over the last year and it's all kind of like coming together now. I think everybody knows how that goes. So I might only post like some update videos on some of the progress that I get to steal away here and there and do little jobs here and there. Because a lot of the work now isn't really video worthy until when I do the brake lines, I definitely will video that because there's some details that I want to share with everybody that I'm learning as I go. And maybe get some advice from you guys too, because that's been so helpful. I can't tell you, because I didn't know all the little nuances with doing this type of work on these Jeeps. And all the input I really appreciate from everybody. But unfortunately, in the next couple months, it's going to be probably some less videos, but I am going to continue the videos because I love doing this. I love sharing my progress, and I'm really enjoying this process. So I just wanted to let you know, just so if you don't see my videos, don't think I'm quitting. I'm continuing, but it's just going to be a little less frequent. But I really appreciate you guys being here, and I hope everybody has a great spring coming up. I'm sure everybody has a lot of yard work like I have to do, a lot of painting and a lot of upkeep and straightening out the yard. But I will see you guys next time, hopefully in a couple weeks, maybe 2 to 3 weeks. But I hope everybody stays healthy and happy, and I will see you next time.